As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the up, boys.
It's bumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff Iafrate and Booner. It's Tuesday, January 6th. It's not Black Monday, but you call it Black Tuesday because the Lions announced some news today. We'll get to it. John Morton out as the OC. Cory Woods is joining today to talk to us. We'll get to talk to Cory. We'll talk some Pistons later in the second hour with Eric Vincent. There's already reports of names that could be the future OC of the Detroit Lions. We're already getting those. So it'll be a good show. We got a lot to talk about today. Talk a little bit about, free agency later in the show as well. We'll kind of sprinkle in more of that. But yeah, John Morton officially as of 2 hours ago, he's out. Only one though, not OC in DC, just OC.
Fired.
John Morton is out.
He is out. Hey, what a beautiful day it is.
Coordinator out.
Yeah. What a great day in Detroit. And listen, I don't want to dance on John Morton's grave. I do feel bad. The man moved all the way to Detroit. He's from the area though, so maybe he was planning on. I don't know, but the Johnny Mo show is no longer. That was a 1-year show, and it sold out, man. It's
yeah,
done.
that show. It's no longer in theaters, man.
No, but I'll say, listen. Shout out to Johnny Mo for the year he gave us. But yeah, I'm kind of happy Dan did. I know a lot of people might be saying, hey, John Morton got fired. Shep, no announcement with that. Yeah, I still think wait a couple of days, let these things play out a little bit. In my opinion, there's a lot of people available. We're gonna have a good show today. There's a lot of names to throw out there.
Yeah, there is. Diana Russidi put it out, honestly, the thing that when I first saw this, my thought was you're just firing the OC, and there could be more, but I'm just thinking to myself, and I'm going, he's obviously going to keep a lot of the offensive staff, no? Like, he's only fired Johnny so far. Doesn't mean you won't clear out other guys like David Shaw or whatever. Maybe he wants, and what I'm getting from this is maybe he wants a different guy next to him while Dan calls plays, or maybe Dan wants an actual play caller. I don't really know what this means yet. I don't know. I don't think Johnny Morton means that Dan just doesn't want to call plays. And I also don't think it means that he doesn't want to call plays. I think you just have to see what happens in the next couple of days. If they're interviewing, depends on who they're interviewing as OC. If they're interviewing guys that are legit OCs, or guys that maybe haven't been OC, which we will get to in a couple of minutes. But I don't know. I can't get a good read on it yet, if Dan wants to call plays or not. It's still he didn't really give an answer at the end of the year. So I think him calling plays is still on the table. I don't think it's.
I do too. And listen, I don't hate that. I know you're not like the biggest fan of it. I don't hate it. I don't think Dan was like the worst at it. I think he did a admirable. Get me with this one. Admirable job.
Yeah, you got it.
For the moments that he did with the bad offensive line. He did better than John Morton. So, and I mean it's not hard to do that, but he did. I'm happy for him.
He did. And so they have so far started their search.
What a first name, dude.
They've interviewed, or they're interviewing, at least they want to, David Blough, a former quarterback for the Detroit Lions. He was here with Ben Johnson. So he knows the offense. Very familiar with that offense. He was an assistant quarterback coach with the Commanders. And obviously you saw what happened with Cliff Kingsbury, which we can get to him and get to other options. I'm seeing it all, but David Blough is getting the interview. I think they fired their quarterback coach and he kind of took over. And I guess I'm just based on reports I'm reading. Apparently they threw in a couple of David Blough play calls this year for the Commanders. That's what they were saying about him, and it worked. Apparently one of his play calls helped them beat the Eagles, I guess, at one point. I don't know.
Where'd you hear this at?
That's been reported from like some of the guys who covered the Detroit Lions. I can't remember if it was might have been Jeremy Reisman. Someone put it out. Might have been, maybe I'm butchering that, but it's someone in the Detroit media. He has never been an OC though. So this is the inexperienced route. you're taking another risk. It is a young guy as opposed to a 50-plus, no offense to John Morton, 50-plus year old man who's been in the league for 20-something years and never really gotten an opportunity. He is young. But after the Johnny Moe situation, I don't know if you want to go back to inexperienced. I don't know. Unless Dan wants to call plays and maybe David Blough is just has the OC title. I don't know.
I'd be interested. I don't know what that noise was I just made, but the David Blough things really has me a little rattled. Like that being the first name as the OC, I was expecting if Dan's bringing an OC into like Cliff Kingsbury, Brian Daboll. Like there's just so many names out there right now. Todd Monken, obviously, Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh just gets fired from the Ravens. Todd Monken's available all of a sudden. Like there are just so many big names out there right now. And like I think the number one thing with this, Jeff, like when you look at like a David Blough, like, and I keep seeing it in the chat, this is like a very common thing, I think, for a lot of fans and me included, is, dude, if you're going to bring an OC in and you're not going to call plays, you better just bring in a proven guy. Like you can't afford back-to-back years to bring in a new guy that you don't know if he's going to work. Like, and I think the reason you had the leeway with Ben Johnson was because you were still rebuilding. And Ben Johnson, Jeff, and you know this because Dan actually just mentioned it over the last couple months when John Morton took over. Ben Johnson, that first year when they fired Anthony Lynn, Ben just sat and watched and observed Dan Campbell and helped him out in certain moments. He didn't fully take over play calling instantly. Like it was like a slow growth. And then even when Ben took over that first year, they did start 1-6, I believe, and the offense was there on and off, but it wasn't like perfect right away. Everything just started clicking, and it was because Ben was younger, and Ben is a great mind and one of the best in the game. But that's part of anyone who's going to be a first-time play caller or newer to it that hasn't done it in a while. So if you want to go into next year, foot on the gas, ready to go win a Super Bowl like instantly and have no slip-ups and have no hiccups like you did this last year, it's probably smart to go the proven route. And I don't think, listen, just because they interview David Blough, I don't think that means like that's their first interview. They're probably just doing their due diligence. And I bet you in my mind, honestly, this is better than last year because I don't remember. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember last year if there was any announcements of OC interviews. I felt like it was just all of a sudden John Morton's name got thrown in there, and then it was boom, John Morton has a job. So at least like now maybe I'm wrong with that. I could be wrong and just don't remember correctly and fully. But at least like, all right, they're doing their due diligence. They're looking around. But I still think you fall back on a Todd Monken, Cliff Kingsbury. Like Cliff Kingsbury, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, he's going to want to be an OC somewhere, right? Lions is a pretty attractive job. You would rather have the OC from the Commanders than the quarterback's coach from the Commanders.
Yeah, and David Blough could easily get that job. So they'll probably, now that Cliff's out, they'll probably want to keep David Blough, I would assume. They try and keep him, make him the OC. But, and remember what I reported, I talked about on air, per the source, the Lions, remember they keep Kelvin, hire an inexperienced OC. That was kind of the scenario that I was hearing. And so far, at least they're interviewing inexperienced OC, and Kelvin hasn't been fired yet. So we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition. But I'm with you. They need experience at OC. I just think right now it does give me the indication based on John Morton, and then now they're interviewing David Blough again. He doesn't have the job. It does give me the indication they just want to recreate this Ben Johnson offense so bad. They just want to recreate this offense. I mean, they brought in John Morton, who was there when Ben first got there, and now David Blough was in the system. Like I get it. I understand it. They had success in that system. You want to mimic it. I understand. But you're not like those guys don't come around often. I'm not just saying that to try and gas up Ben. I'm just being realistic. Like you just got to get the best guy for you guys. And that might be someone that has a slightly different system that can still thrive with your current offense. Maybe it's someone who's established that you and that person can kind of blend philosophies a little bit. But it does kind of at least feel to me, Boone, they're just like, we got to recreate this. Whoever was in this system, who had anything to do with this system, let's just give them an opportunity, or at least give them an interview. That's what it feels like to me. Because I don't know at this point, if that is the route they're going, they're definitely not going to hire Cliff Kingsbury and Brian Daboll because those guys have completely different ideologies probably. Because I did read that Cliff Kingsbury had issues with Dan Quinn because Dan Quinn was, at least the reporting, he wanted a better run-pass balance. He wanted, I'm sure Dan Quinn being a defensive guy wanted them to run the ball more.
That's what, but the Lions need to run the ball more. That's the problem.
No, that's why, they were disagreeing because they wanted to pass more. That's what he was saying.
Cliff
Dan
wanted to
Quinn,
pass more.
Yeah, and Dan probably wanted
so
to
then maybe he's not. Maybe our guy in the chat, it's T-Wort, but that's not T-Wort.
It's Tim.
I don't like Tim. Yes, I don't like these new ats, man. I can't see people's actual names. That bothers me. He said Dable might fit then. Dable could be a fit.
Yeah, I've been saying Dable I love Dable, and I think the connection with him and Dan makes a lot of sense. Now, people would say, well, he's worked with Josh Allen, he's worked with Jackson Dart, he's worked with Daniel Jones, like mobile guys. So maybe I don't know, but I like Brian Daboll. And another person who might be available because John Harbaugh just got fired today, which is kind of crazy. Brett Coleman, who he's a big presence here in the NFL community. He tweeted out, if Ravens don't elevate Monken or the new coach doesn't retain him for some reason, Detroit should throw every dollar they have at him. Todd Monken.
I agree.
With the Ravens, MVP Lamar, or at least the MVP type season, Todd Monken was a part of it. And he was the OC at Georgia. And then he went to the NFL. But Todd Monken's another name. He's going to be a hot commodity as well. So you got all these up, but they'll probably end up trying to keep him. I'm assuming. I don't know why they would ever try and get rid of him, but there's going to be some names out there. But there is that risk that they go get an experienced guy, and I think everyone in the Lions fan base would be absolutely furious. I mean, they would be pissed off. I reckon I would believe it. Everyone will be pissed off. Let's see. Jesse says, great point, Jeff. This OC search is like that coach off season where anyone who talked to McVay was getting a job interview. Yeah, I mean that's it. Maybe it does kind of feel that way. It's like anyone who was in this system with Ben. We want it. Like I won't be surprised. They'll probably interview Scotty Montgomery because he's been here with Ben and he's coached two different positions now. Like they'll probably. You think
Hank Fraley? Hank Fraley's gotten multiple interviews.
Hank Fraley
the last 2 years.
Probably do some internal as well, even though people don't want to hear it. I'm just telling you what I think they'll do. I can see that. I could see them interviewing either of those guys. I just don't know. I think for the first time under Dan Campbell, the reality of it is this. I understand the first year you get Ben, who was already here after Anthony Lynn didn't work out. So he was kind of internal. So someone that was familiar. Aaron Glenn, you did bring him from New Orleans. So he was a guy you're familiar. After that, you go get familiar with John Morton, familiar with Kelvin Sheppard. You might need to be a little uncomfortable, Dan. Like you might need to go get someone that maybe you're familiar with, but different, maybe from someone somewhere else. Like go get someone like, dude, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio for the Eagles was like, what the hell? I mean, two random dudes.
Kellen Moore was such a random one, I feel like.
Yeah, like he was coaching in the division. He's coaching with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's like, just go get the best hires. Like, it doesn't have to be guys you're comfortable with, or I know that guy, or, that guy had a history with that guy. It's like, no, go get a guy who's a great coach and make a relationship.
I do think, I'll say this, like, I think one thing's important is that Jared Goff's comfortable. Like, who you bring in, obviously you want to have a relationship. And I know, like, the scheme and everything, you want to still have Jared Goff comfortable in that. But I will say, Jeff, and one thing that I think maybe that's been too big of a holdup with Dan Campbell and this whole OC thing since Ben's left, and I think with the fan base and everyone maybe overthinking a little bit, is a lot of people last year, remember the offseason, like the reason John Morton, and I was argued for him in the favor of John Morton, was because he was so familiar with the offense and he helped essentially build that offense with Ben Johnson. And my thing was always, there was 4 people in that room when this offense was built: Dan Campbell, John Morton, Ben Johnson, and Jared Goff. Like that was the crew that built this offense, which is true. But then you saw the success didn't translate with John Morton. So I had this realization today when I did see the alert of John Morton getting fired, to where I was like, okay, I think there are a lot of very, very high level offensive minds that can also put an offense and figure out what Jared Goff's strengths are to put that on the field. But you got to think, Jeff, this might be one of the best offensive jobs in the entire NFL, when you look at the weapons that they have, you know how many coaches would die to have this job? And I think Dan needs to kind of take a step back, and instead of going the David Blough route or the Scotty Montgomery or the Hank Fraley and being like, hey, let's just keep this in-house so we can, have consistency and, we don't have to change the offense up too much. Listen, I think you kind of just throw that out the window and you go, man, think about if Cliff Kingsbury with his offensive mind could come in. Like, obviously, Ben, you don't think Cliff Kingsbury can look at Ben Johnson and what he did the last couple of years with Jared in this offense, take some of that and put his own wrinkle to it? Like, some of these coaches that have these just insane offensive minds would do anything to come in and work with Amon-Ra, Jamo, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff, Penei Sewell. They would do anything. And it's like, why aren't we giving a Todd Monken or a Cliff Kingsbury or one of these high-level offensive minds an opportunity to come in and make that move and to see what they can do with that? Why? Like, we know what the guys in-house are. We know what this offense is. Why not bring something in to mix it up a little bit? Because, like, those guys aren't going to change it up too much, but they're going to add their wrinkles, right? And and a lot of these guys, Jeff, they're experienced. And there are guys out there that have been offensive coordinators on Super Bowl teams. Don't do it. Why wait? You know what I'm saying? I had that thought today, and I was like, I know that was the argument for a lot of people with the in-house guys is keeping the offense, the continuity of it all. But why not just try and mix this thing up a little bit? Give someone else an opportunity to come in here and make this thing great.
If you're a good offensive mind, you can adjust to who you have at quarterback. I mean, you can. It's not about, well, I'm only good with mobile guys, or I'm only good. If you're a great offensive mind, you can adjust. Look at Ben Johnson. I mean, Ben Johnson had Goff, went to Caleb Williams. You look at Sean McVay. I mean, he's had two guys that are very similar and don't move around, and Jared and Matthew Stafford. But then you look at Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan had Jimmy Garoppolo and then Brock Purdy, who can move a little bit more. And he had Matt Ryan at one point, who didn't really move. It didn't move at all. So it's like those guys can just adjust and play call for different types of quarterbacks. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I think if it wasn't for what just happened with John Morton, I would be open-minded to David Blough, because I think he is a bright dude. I just think right now is bad timing. I think if this was last year, I would be more open to it. Like if it was after Ben and, you're like, well, this guy's another bright young guy. Be like, okay, you can convince me. I'm open to it. But right now, after a year of disaster, I think it's way too much of a risk. Dan did comment on David Blough, though, before. Here's a quote on Pride of Detroit, because he said this about David, which, by the way, David Blough took over as the quarterback coach for the Commanders because the quarterback coach left for Stanford. I said he got fired earlier. I realized he took the head coaching gig at Stanford. I just remembered that. But this is what Dan Campbell said about Blough. I love the kid, if I'm being totally honest with you. He's just a little football player. And when I say that, I mean that in the highest regard. Look, he's smart. He's extremely smart. He knows where to go with the football. I love his timing. He knows how to command the huddle. He communicates well. And on top of that, he's a hell of a dude. By the way, he just is. So he has not disappointed. He's doing a good job. He's out there competing with the rest of those guys. So some guys are just meant for coaching. I mean, it happens that way. Like if you remember, Kevin O'Connell was not a great quarterback. And he went into coaching, and Kevin O'Connell's an excellent offensive guy.
Kevin O'Connell got cut multiple times, I think. He
just isn't like some guys. It doesn't mean you have to be a great. I mean, sometimes great quarterbacks don't end up being great coaches.
Yep.
Bad quarterbacks end up being like Dan. That's why Dan Orlovsky, like he's not a great quarterback, but Dan Orlovsky could call plays. I mean, he's got that. So I like David Blough. I really do. I just think it's the timing of it. It's a massive risk again. And if you tie yourself to another inexperienced quarterback, coordinator, things could get hot next year, man. Like if it doesn't work out, this could get bad. And I don't want that for Dan. So hope this hire he's got to get right. If it's David Blough, so be it. But it is a massive risk. But nothing of Kelvin Sheppard as of right now. So I don't know. I don't know if that means
I'm so interested. I wish we could live in a world, Jeff, and this is going to sound so crazy, where we could have like what is it? You probably know this better than me, like the alternate universes where we could see a world where David Blough actually takes over as the OC. And I just want to see what happens. And then like Todd Monken. I would love to see it like both. I wish we could. We're not going to. It'll never happen, obviously.
Different scenarios.
But it would be awesome just to be able to like see the two worlds and be like, just sit back and like watch the TV and just be like, all right, sit like, sim like a Madden game. and watch them to the end of their season. Who has a better offense?
We can say, like AI ain't right. How about Trinity Benson as the wide receiver coach? Just bring them all back. Bring back Trinity Benson, make him the wide receiver coach. Bring back David Blough, OC.
Calvin is that wide receiver coach, man.
Yeah, you know what? Screw it. Bring in Jamar Jefferson, make him running back coach. Jamar Jefferson.
All right.
You start bringing all these players back, man.
Craig Reynolds retires and comes back for
yeah, he's a running back
coach.
Anakin, appreciate the 2. He says it's just an interview, nothing concrete, so chill. Well, Anakin, we're still going to talk about it, dude. You know what I mean? Appreciate it, though, Anakin. Rando, appreciate the 2. He says, Booner, I don't want a guy who will be gone next. Well,
most guys you get, there's going to be an opportunity. Listen, unless Dan Campbell is calling plays, any OC or DC that you hire could be gone in an instant. Like, that's the world. I would rather have an elite OC and them, potentially leave, because that means you're either winning or they're doing good. Like, that's the route I would rather take than have like a bad one and just be like, oh, we just hired a bad OC. This is cool. Good. Oh, positives. He's not leaving. Like, he's staying.
Or Dan calls plays and he's good but not great because you just don't want to lose your OC. It's like, it's like you just do it. Dan's got to do his best for the team, man. If it is hiring an OC and he knows this would be better for the team, you got to do it, even if they'll leave. I mean, it's just it's just what happens. Would we all like our head coach to be the play caller? Absolutely. But if he doesn't think it's best for the team, then this is what the world you're in. You got to get used to it. Steve Lehman, appreciate it. Member for 20 months. He says Monken gets you one step closer to Lindenbaum.
No one knows how to say this guy's last name. Can we just go to AI? How do you say it? Or something?
Tyler, it's Linderbaum. Linderbaum.
All right.
You got it right. Yeah, Steve had it right. Linderbaum. Yeah, Tyler Linderbaum. But yeah, I guess that's a good way to look at it. But Todd Monken's a good OC. He's a good OC. People are gonna be like, well, he's with Lamar Jackson, but that doesn't matter if you're a good OC. Dante, appreciate the 5. I wouldn't mind if David Blough became the quarterbacks coach for the Lions so he can learn under Dan Campbell and the new offensive coordinator.
You have
you got a guy, everyone. Mark Brunell, they love him.
Mark Brunell is your quarterbacks coach. I don't think there's a. Can I ask you this real quick? Because while we're on the, I'm sure when Cory gets off too, we're going to keep talking about the staff, because it seems like the hot topic on the street right now is just this Lions staff. Do you think there's going to end up being other assistants let go outside of let's say outside of like Shep, but I'm talking about like positional wise on both sides of the ball? Because I feel like there's like a lot of positional guys that a lot of people like, but it was such a down year to where I would be interested. Like, to me, the only people safe would be like Scotty Montgomery, Hank Fraley. But outside of that, I'm trying to think of
nobody else.
If any,
besides Mark Brunell, maybe they like him. He's been good with Jared.
Yeah, him and Jared have some sort of connection. So
offensive assistants, and no, like I would personally, I think Dan should fire everyone with John Morton. I would fire everybody. I would get rid of everybody besides those 3 guys.
Choice running backs coach?
No, I like Jashard.
So not everybody. So okay.
It really, what I mean by that is,
so who on offense would you fire?
Offensive coordinator and offensive assistants, like the guys who work with John Morton. Fire all.
So you would fire Rex Ryan's son?
Honestly, I don't really care at that point. I mean, just fire all those guys.
You lose Rex Ryan in the media so fast.
I would keep Jashard, Choice, Hank Fraley, Scotty Montgomery, Mark Brunell. I think those guys do a good job. But other than that, I'm firing everybody else. I don't really
that's
care.
Fair. Yeah.
David Shaw, you're out. Fire everybody. He's out. Because if you're bringing in an OC, he's gonna want some say in some of the guys around him. You know what I mean? Like, unless it is David Blough. David Blough's just happy to be there. He's just gonna be like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll work with David Shaw. Like, but if you get a legit OC, he's gonna be like, get this fucking dude out of here. Like, I want some dudes that Ryan just said Seth came up with some trick plays.
I think he was a part of that crew. I think that crew, the trick plays guy with Ben Johnson, I think it was Rex Ryan's son. And I think it was
where was he this year?
And I think it was him and JT Barrett and one other coach. I can't remember who it all was, but I think they had like a little group that their specific job all week was go find the weaknesses of whoever you're playing that week. Where can we, run trick plays, in specific sets that they're in and things that they're in, and how can we take advantage of that? And that was like why Ben like was so good at trick plays is he mentioned it. Like he was straight up about it. He's like, I have my little staff, a little crew of guys, and they're designated to trick plays. And like it feels like this year there wasn't that many of them. The only time we saw them literally was versus Ben Johnson. They tried to run the same one on Ben that Ben made. It's like they just tried to run Ben's on Ben.
And they didn't run a single fucking – they ran a couple attempts, but the only one that was successful really that I remember, but it was called back, was the Chiefs game where they ran the Jared Goff like that was, they got that one.
Oh, man. The Jared Goff ones, dude. Like the one they just tried with Jared Goff rolling out, and he just – D-My had nothing, just takes a 7-yard loss.
It was a disaster. By the way, Tim just said F it, hire Dan Orlovsky. I mean, here we go again with the Dan Orlovsky.
I was the Dan Orlovsky guy last year. I'll admit it. I think Dano would have done a better job than Johnny Morton.
Probably, yeah. I mean, probably.
He wouldn't have got fired halfway through the year.
I mean, there's going to be guys on like Jason Garrett's getting interviewed to be a head coach, and he's on TV. So, and you never can count out. Jeff Saturday got brought in to be the head coach for like
that was one of the craziest things I think we've ever seen, though, man. I don't know if that will ever happen again.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Tim says choice favors Gibbs far too much. I don't know if he has say in that. Do they? Did the running backs coach? Maybe I'm naive.
I mean, he has a say in for sure. I mean, in those
like I'm not saying like who's like, oh, this guy's been playing well lately and he's been doing well in practice, but like in a game, is he like commanding who goes
in
out
coaches'
there?
meetings? Yeah, you would think that he is.
Well, then if that's the case, it's a short choice. Hey, what are we doing? Maybe Scott needs to go back to running back because they were great with Scotty there.
They were. Did you see Demon's post, by the way?
But then also he's doing great with the wide receiver. Scotty's just a great coach, man.
Have you noticed all these Lions players posts?
No.
Did you see like a Meek today?
Well, I saw his.
Peace out, Detroit. And then Demon did the same thing. He did #5 with the pieces.
I don't know, man.
And everyone's saying that's. I saw like it kind of blowing up. People are like, Demon's out.
I don't know, man. I got a bad feeling about his future. And
I actually
on the Lions.
Our guy Russell Brown, isn't it Russell Brown, correct? Our guy, he actually tweeted out and brought up a good point. He was like, if you guys really do want to talk about like cutting Demon or whatever, I think you'd have to trade him if it made any sense. But like if they were to like move on, cut or whatever, like there's no point in doing it. You save like $2 million. You're not going to go get if you're going to make a move, you have to make it where it makes sense to pay the difference or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like to where it's cheaper, to where if like say you do cut him. You have to the amount of money you have to pay in dead cap. You're essentially only saving like $2 million, which
you're going to spend on a running back from the draft, probably.
Yeah,
$1 million.
But so you're paying the same amount of money essentially, and so you might as well at that point pay Demon because it's the same price.
Or just keep Demon as a top 15 back in the league.
Yeah,
I mean, he's good.
That's why I just don't see a world where they cut him because it just financially would make zero sense.
Yeah, there'd be people trying to trade for him. A and B, it doesn't even make sense because, like you said, you don't save that much money. I mean,
no. Essentially, what would happen is you cut him. You have a couple extra mil that you save. You draft the running back, and you're sitting there paying that running back this money. It's just like you have a better player for the same price. It would make no sense.
Well, let's get our friends' thoughts on this whole thing, man.
Let's do it.
It's our guy, covers the Detroit Lions. He was texting me over the weekend about this Bears game because he joined last week talking about it. He knew they'd show up for that game, man. It was Ben Johnson. It's Cory Woods. Like I said, covers the Detroit Lions for MLive.com. We'll get his thoughts. John Morton being fired, everything that has to do with the Lions. Please welcome him in. What's up, Cory? How we doing, my friend?
Hey, what's going on? Sorry, guys. My light literally went out right as I was getting ready. Like it just literally broke. So hopefully you guys can see me.
Yeah, you're good. I actually we'll start with the
Well, actually, real quick, can I say something? Because I was listening to you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
These are actually kind of go together. The trick plays thing, that was not that Ben Johnson had a big part in that. But it was a total effort. It was Mark Brunell bringing him plays. It was St. Brown bringing him plays. it was a collection of guys. Yeah, Ben did have his guys, but it was a total team effort in those trick plays. And a big reason, in my opinion, you didn't see those trick plays, along with the lack of usage of David Montgomery, all relates back to the poor play of the offensive line this season. Because when you don't have the proper blocking for Goff and in those trick plays, those are longer routes to develop. And you've seen it all season. Goff was snapping the ball, and he sometimes had, I believe, at one point this season, his pocket time was 2.1 seconds or less.
Yeah, 2 seconds. Yeah.
And then looking at David Montgomery is a dynamic back, but he's a different type of back than Jahmyr Gibbs. He needs those holes to open up, and they just weren't there. So you're going to have to give Gibbs more touches because he's just a little bit more of a dynamic player. You'll be able to just hopefully give him the ball and hope something happens. So I think that with David Montgomery returning or not, it all depends on what the Lions are going to do to address the offensive line. But I think those two things kind of went hand in hand.
By the way, before we move, what's that? Whose birthday is it?
Oh, that's my I'll tell you about that later, but it's not my birthday.
Okay, all right. I was gonna say, damn, man. All right. Let me. Oh, okay, good shit. All right, let me ask you about the John Morton stuff. So John Morton, they parted ways with him today. Kind of something that you joined our show and you were talking about it. It was something that everyone probably assumed was going to happen. They interviewed David Blough. Cory, can I just get your thoughts on them parting ways with John? Because there were some people that maybe thought that he would stick around and just kind of stay in his role, or maybe like move a role, maybe adjust or stay in a different role because he was helping Dan all season, but Dan decided it just wasn't working. So your thoughts on that, and then B, the David Blough stuff, him getting interviewed, and the future OC of the Lions. Do you think Dan will keep calling plays? What's going on with that, Cory? So
here's what I think. First, I'm gonna go with John Morton. I think the writing was on the wall with John Morton leaving. After that Commanders game, just being in the locker room, talking to players, they were a lot, even though people have their opinions about Dan's play calling this season, there was a consensus among players that were happy with Dan taking over the play calling given the situation that they were in. And I believe that it was similar to the Anthony Lynn situation. When you remove the play calling duties from the offensive coordinator, that is pretty much de facto firing them without firing them. And I don't see how you could remove his duties, then give it back to him and still have the team believe in it. I believe that it was either Morton was going to stay on and help Dan with the game plan, and Dan would go on as the play caller, or they were just going to go in an entirely different direction. So I always thought that the moment that Dan took over play calling, that the writing was on the wall for John Morton as the offensive coordinator. Now, when you get to about David Blough, I know people just, the name they hear David Blough, the first thing they think about is his time as a backup QB. But even when he was here and he was backing up Goff, the word around the building was that David Blough was a brilliant offensive mind. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, and that is somebody that they wanted to keep in the building, at least in that regard. But he had the opportunity with the Commanders. So don't quote me on that last part, but I do remember hearing from people that he was regarded as a brilliant offensive mind. And, the thing about it is he knows the offense. He knows the offense that Dan wants to run. And again, it's just an interview. You don't get freaked out about it. I mean, you have to interview a whole boatload of candidates, and I think it's actually pretty smart that they're interviewing somebody that does know the offense and is a little bit younger. It might be, and he has a relationship with the guys already in the locker room, having been their teammates. So that is at least something to look at. I know people are going about, oh, you got to go get a name. You got to go get a name. Well, guess what? The Lions, when they took their ascension, they didn't have a name. Ben Johnson was in Detroit for 2 years before Dan Campbell got here. He was a quality control assistant on Matt Patricia's staff. When the Lions started their 2022 season 1-6, people wanted Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson fired. So, Ben Johnson became a name because Dan Campbell had faith in him. So I just kind of say, don't freak out because the guy's getting your interview. Just let the process be what the process is and develop. And then when they settle on a name, then freak out, be happy or whatever right then. But we just heard the news about Morton a couple hours ago. Obviously they're not going to just interview one guy and hire him. They're going to cycle through some names.
Yeah, Cory, I wanted to ask you that kind of with some offensive coordinator names. Can I ask for you, like, if when you see the hire come through, what would be an A+ hire for you? If there's a couple different names that you have, and then as well, kind of even with that, the one thing I do want to ask you to where, how would you feel if Dan Campbell decides to, hey, I'm going to, keep play calling duties, and I'm going to go about it that way? What are those two kind of senses look like for you?
Right now, I would say that I don't really have a name that I'm latched on that the Lions have to get, because I think there's still going to be a couple more potential coordinator names could pop up, because with the Ravens moving on from John Harbaugh, I believe that there are going to be some more names that might pop up. Personal opinion, I think now that, John Harbaugh's out there, I could see the Miami Dolphins firing Mike McDaniel. So, and, possibly bringing, John Harbaugh down there. But there's also a lot of other potential candidates out there. I mean, hey, there's a Kevin Stefanski, there's Monken, there's the one that I know a lot of fans are not crazy about, Brian Daboll's out there. There's a few names out there. So I would say probably circle back with me on Friday, because I want to see who else continues to pop up. But again, if it happens, if Mike McDaniel were to be fired as the if you were to be fired as the Dolphins head coach, for me, that would be my number one.
Well, Cory, I'll switch it to the other side here, because, they make the move with John Morton. Kelvin Sheppard still has a job. And you actually came on our show and talked about it, and you were very open about it, that, there could be a chance he does return for another year. Were you now, I know it's only Tuesday, so you can't say that, oh, okay, he's back, automatically. But I just think it's interesting. We're kind of creeping away from Monday, Black Monday, and he has another day with a job. Maybe I'm crazy, Cory, but I started to get this feeling that maybe the likelihood that he is back is becoming more and more likely. Am I crazy for that, or is that should I not overreact right now? You kind of
clipped out. You talking about Shep?
Yeah, just as days go on, the likelihood he is returning, Cory.
Well, here's my thing. When Dan was speaking on Monday, he said he needed to take a couple of days to step back and sort through some things, and say maybe some coaches need to be shuffled around. Maybe some coaches needed to, or players need to be shuffled around. I kind of think that the writing was on the wall about John Morton. So I don't think that was one that really had to take much time for him to sit back and wait days over. I think, just as it's me kind of piercing through the comments, I think that the one about Kelvin Sheppard was the one that he probably needed to take a couple of days to sit back and sort through some things, because, again, maybe you might have to move on from some of those defensive assistants. Maybe you might have to move on from a Deshae Townsend as cornerbacks coach. I mean, they gave up close to 2,000 yards over those past 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
So there's that. Maybe you might need to move on from one of the linebacker coaches. You never know. Maybe Casey Rogers. I mean, defensive line coach. He's well regarded, but they weren't able to create any real pressure from. Maybe you move on from him. I think that when Dan was talking about moving on from some of those coaches or shuffling through those coaches, I think that he was primarily talking about the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Cory, something I just wanted to bring up to you and ask you your thoughts, because you were in the locker room, obviously, this whole season and the end of season interviews, everything that kind of happened the last 48 hours. I don't know if you noticed, I don't know how much, fans, and Cory, fans are going to run with all these different things, but some of these players that are free agents putting post up with the peace sign and all of that. Guys like Amik Robertson, David's contract's not up, Montgomery, but he posted something that people are kind of running with that. What are your thoughts on some of the, especially these free agents, like Amik Robertson specifically? He put up that one. Do you see him returning? And even guys like Rodrigo, I actually just realized today, Malcolm Rodriguez is up his deal. Alex Anzalone, like there are some of these deals, and then the last 48 hours, you start seeing all these interviews, and then you do see some of these posts. It does get you thinking a little bit. How do you see some of these playing out, especially some of the guys that have made some posts? Is there any kind of, anything to go with those, you think?
I wouldn't read too much into social media. I mean, because if you're going to freak yourself out and drive yourself crazy. I mean, David Montgomery, I mean, we've been talking about the possibility of the Lions trading David Montgomery for quite some time or parting ways. So if you've already had that kind of mindset out about it, why freak out right now? just you've been preparing for weeks. Me personally, I think it's 60-40 that he returns. Just because of the fact that you know they're going to go ahead and invest in this offensive line this offseason regardless, and it's just all about having a conversation with him about what direction you want to go with that running back unit. Are you going to really truly split the carries like you did last time? If you split the carries like you had been over the past couple of years, I can see David Montgomery returning. If you're going to really lean heavily Gibbs, I can see him requesting a trade. Guys like Amik Robertson, I mean, Amik might have played himself out of Detroit, and I mean not, and I don't mean that in a good way. They may try to go ahead and look at some different options, or maybe he'll take a hometown discount to come back. Maybe he's just going to go ahead and test the market and see what's out there. I just wouldn't read too much into social media, because the thing about it is these guys are free agents, and it's no guarantee that they'll all be back. So it's just pretty much just saying, hey, thank you for my time here. It's been real, and let's see what the process is.
Yeah, I mean, you were there. The big one for me, Cory, and I think a big domino in the offseason is Taylor Decker. And I mean, seeing that man talk to the media was depressing, and not like, he did anything wrong. It's just you really feel for the guy. I mean, he seems like he's always rehabbing. He kind of went into detail with everything. If you didn't think he was retiring already, I think people probably have more of a indication or more inclined to think he is retiring. Do you have that kind of same feeling, Cory? Or are you just like, hey, it's after a game, he's emotional, probably just give it some time? Or do you think there is more? It's becoming more and more likely that Taylor Decker just played his final game as a Detroit Lion?
I think that it's very well. First of all, I think he was emotional because, I mean, it very well could have been his last game, and he doesn't know. But he's already said that he hasn't been in the greatest place, and it's been taking a toll on his wife and his kids, as well as his body and the things that he has to do to get ready. I mean, you got to remember there were times during this season that Decker was not even practicing. He was just suiting up for games. And remember, during the point of the season, Dan Campbell was saying that there were diminishing returns on his shoulder. I think that once he kind of takes a step back and heals, he's going to go ahead and make a decision. And I believe that if Decker does decide to come back, hey, let him come back and, run it back with them. But regardless of whether Decker comes back or he retires, I believe you definitely need to go ahead and go draft another tackle. So regardless of whatever he decides to do, you need to go draft his replacement, whether that draft or sign his replacement in free agency. That's going to be either, if you're signing a veteran, that's just going to be his replacement, or if you're drafting one, I mean, that's a guy that you're training up to be his replacement, or if Decker is still here, he's mentoring him to be his replacement.
Hey, Cory, real quick, I just want to ask you this last thing. I just want to see if your thoughts, covered the team for a long time, do you have any predictions over the next couple of weeks here heading into the start of this offseason outside of the OC stuff? Anything that you feel like is going to happen? Anything big?
If I'm still getting a hard read. I'm still having a hard read on that defensive coordinator situation, because it's just alarming when you saw the Dan Campbell interview, where or at least you heard it, and they were asking him about Shep coming back. He waffled on that. Not kind of waffled. He did waffle.
Yeah, for sure.
He danced around it, whereas moments later, when they asked about Goff, it was definite. So I really do think that Dan's going to take a step back and see what this team needs to move forward, because he is not happy with them being at home. And if I just had to guess who would be gone, if out of the assistants over the next couple of days, I would definitely think that that Deshae Townsend, I think he could be one of the guys gone. Because again, regardless of the injuries they had, giving up close to 2,000 yards passing and 11 touchdowns, that's a lot. And you got to wonder, are they running the proper scheme? And again, we're going to see it, but I wouldn't freak out about the Kelvin Sheppard one just yet, because I think that, if he's going to make a move on Shep, I think it would probably come by Friday.
Yeah. And you still have guys. I mean, if you're going to try and interview anyone from a playoff team, they don't have, I mean, you have to, so you have some time, with that, Cory. We appreciate the hell out of you, Cory. You guys can check out Cory. Follow him during the offseason. He'll have it all covered at Cory Woods. We love having him on the show. Keep up the great work, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see it.
Thanks, Cory.
Cory Woods joining the show, talking ball with the fellas. By the way, I agree wholeheartedly with what Cory was saying at the end there. Just with the I mean, you got to think they get rid of their OC, right? And yeah, John Morton was a problem, but they have a lot of offensive talent, and they were still putting up points at times.
Yeah,
the defense was a clear issue. There's no way I mean, like, if Dan is really pissed about being at home, there's like no way you can bring back Kelvin Sheppard, right? Like, there's just no way. Like,
listen. I feel like I feel like me and you, and maybe I'm just not out there hearing enough or reading enough online.
There's a lot of people that want him back. A lot.
I feel like me and you are like the only ones in the Lions kind of sphere that is like, hey, we want a new DC. And typically, Jeff, and you know this very well, typically I'm not on that. Typically I'm on the side of like standing up, protecting, like, hey, like I'm a Lions guy through and through, like keep Shep, give him another year. I feel like me and you are in like the very like outskirts of this one. And it's very weird because it feels like if you're a Lions fan or you really want this team to be successful, you look at the defense. That defense was so bad at times this year. And you could be like, well, it's a scheme here or there, or players hurt. It was so bad, man. So bad.
You know what? Firing, and by the way, Deshae Townsend, I'm not going to sit here and defend the guy. Like, if you want to fire him, go ahead. But why bring him back last year then? Like, it seems like he would be a scapegoat if you're going to keep Kelvin and fire Deshae. Now, I think Deshae, you definitely need to consider firing. I'm not saying he's like perfect or anything. But he was here last year, and they brought him back. So it's like he was clearly good enough last year to stay, and then this year we're bad. So it's like, oh, we're going to fire you and fire Casey Rogers, and then we're going to go. It's like, no, dude. To me, it just sounds like you're kind of dancing around the problem. Like, in my opinion, the problem is who's calling plays on defense. That's the.
I would rather. Can I be honest with you here?
Yeah,
I would rather you bring in David Blough as an OC that doesn't call plays, let Dan Campbell call plays, and go out and get a proven DC, then go the route of getting a proven offensive coordinator and keep
I
Shep.
agree.
I would rather go. I think that route you would be more successful next year and have a better shot of winning a Super Bowl, in my opinion. And I would be all in on that if that's the case. And if Dan decides
more
to do
veteran
that.
experience on the defensive side.
Yeah. I mean, you brought Casey Rogers in, who is a vet experience and was one of the better D-line, but your D-line gave up 1 billion rushing yards this last year too. So it's like, at what level, and I'm not saying at what, I'm talking about level of the defense. Are you like, hey, where was the problem? Your secondary for years has been an issue. Deshae Townsend, your defensive line this year, run game was an issue. The only thing this year that wasn't an issue was a linebackers coach. Who's your coordinator? Former linebackers coach.
Well, that's what, because Casey Rogers, by the way, again, not saying he didn't. I mean, that defensive line, interior defensive line was not great. They didn't get pressure. But again, Casey Rogers, what was he, when he came into the Lions, what was everyone saying? This guy's one of the best D-line coach. We might have upgraded from Terrell Williams.
Yeah.
Like, the guy had a resume as being one of the greatest, or not greatest, but one of the best currently defensive line coaches. And now we're going to fire him into Deshae Townsend and just be like, all right, everything's fixed. But you're still going to have the same guy calling plays that for a stretch of games, you gave up the most explosive plays in football, or at least one of the. It's like, I don't know. It seems like you're just kind of scapegoating, and then you're going to just show the fan base, hey, we're taking it kind of serious. And I'm not saying Casey Rogers, if you want to fire him, go ahead. But I think you should fire Kelvin along with those guys. Fire all of them. Bring in a new DC, have him hire a new staff. Don't just keep Kelvin Sheppard and Deshae Townsend. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. By the way, did you see that the Lions did sign a center today?
Yeah, I really don't. I saw you did a video about it today, and you know what? I respect the grind of it. I just laughed. I was like, I love Jeff's a grinder, because there was zero chance. I don't even know if I posted about it on socials if we put it up. It was just like, oh, cool.
The video did well.
Yeah, because the Lions get an offensive lineman, like people love that.
Yeah, the video wanted to be
a good backup practice squad center. So there we go.
Yeah. won the Remington Award, best offensive lineman in college.
Last year or what year?
He was a rookie, but coming out, he won it. Or I think, in college. So I don't know what happened. He ruptured his Achilles and just never was the same. But they did sign him to a future contract. So he's your Kingsley replacement. That's what that is. He's your Kingsley replacement. So that's how it is.
And by the way, the doc just tweeted out. You want to hear his take real quick?
Yeah, what'd he say?
He said Dan Campbell makes the wrong OC hired. He's getting fired. Straight up. Doc isn't holding anything back. Do you think I disagree. I think I don't know why I just keep going back to this defensive staff. Like I think it's defense is more important.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say what John's saying. If you hired like an unexperienced guy in the offense is bad or whatever, and let's say he's calling plays. Let's say Dan's not calling plays, and you hire a guy and it's a failure. Dan would be on a hot. He would be on the hot. That's tough. Back to back.
Can't hire. Yeah.
That's bad. I mean, that's a bad situation. So maybe the way Doc phrased it, people are probably going to look at that and be like, "Oh gosh." But
I feel like there's like so much pressure on Dan right now. Like these next 2 weeks.
Oh, definitely.
I would be stressing out, to be honest, dude. If I was him, like I would be. That's why he gets paid as much as he does, because I would be in that building like, oh my gosh, like this is my job on the line.
Like if this was Joe Schmo coaching the Falcons and they botched 2 OC hires, and like it would be like this guy, like, and I know even if with Dan's success, like yeah, they had success, but like this guy can't get an OC right, you can't get coaches right. It's like, well, and you miss the playoffs, you underachieve significantly, like, and then next year, let's say they underachieve again and they fail coordinators, like yeah, Dan ain't gonna be. It's gonna be uncomfortable for Dan.
I'm hoping, I'm hoping that your theory works for the this hiring cycle, the up-down theory. And this year we're just down, up. Dan's about to hire 2 of the greatest coordinators of all time.
That's how it should be. I mean, I would think. I mean, that's what I would think at least. I mean, you'd think. I mean, you'd think for Dan's perspective, it's like, all right, you just botched 2 hires. The Eagles botched 2 hires. You're hoping it goes the exact same way as them. It's like, well, they nailed their next 2, so it's like, all right. That's why if I would I would wait a while. I mean, you got playoffs coming up. These coordinators that are in the playoffs, I know some of them are interviewing for head coaching gigs, but we'll see. Guys could get fired after the playoffs. Maybe some guys that are on on coaching staffs right now. You never know. You could have more names you could interview. Definitely. So you don't have to hire anyone anytime soon. You don't. It's going to be a little bit. I would just keep interviewing guys. Now it just depends. I think if you're gonna get a new defensive coordinator, you got to fire Kelvin Sheppard this week, because then you could just what you're going into the offseason. You know what you're going into the offseason with. You need 2 new coordinators. Let's start interviewing them right away. Let's at least start interviewing them right away, and then you can interview guys for however long, but until you really like a guy or you feel like the guy's a perfect fit. But you can't let this thing linger for.
No, and I don't think I do feel like there are people that today, since it didn't happen today, they were like, oh, he's safe. I think Dan's going to take time on this defensive side. I would hope. Like if I'm him, I know typically people want like the offense is the heart of this team. I would go to Brad. You know what I would do, honestly, if I'm Dan Campbell? I would go to Brad and say, hey, I'm gonna figure out this OC thing. Like we're letting John go. OC thing's gonna get figured out the next few weeks. We don't need, like, worst case, I'm calling plays. You figure out for me, Brad. If I'm Dan, I'm being straight up. Like my job's on the line. You figure out an offensive line for me. That's your job this offseason. That's what I tell Brad. And then you know what I would do is if I'm Dan the next 2 weeks, I would go in my office. I would lock myself in there. And I would dive so deep into this defense and try and figure out where the issues are, starting with the staff. And I would get rid of every staff member that's been an issue the last year or even 2. If Shep isn't, you don't have full, if you don't have, and I'll tell you this, like if you have 90% confidence in Shep, you should go get a new DC. If you don't have 100% confidence that he could turn this thing around and he can figure this out next year, you need to go get a new DC, in my opinion. Like that's how I would approach it. And then from there, I would do this, and I would go out and get someone who I'm 100% sure would at least give us a chance defensively. But if you have an inch of like doubt with Kelvin Sheppard going into next year, and there's any question, and you're like, hey Shep, like, can you figure this out? And he's like, yeah. And you're like, are you sure? If you're saying, are you sure? That's a problem, and you need to go get someone else, and then you make that move. Like that's how my first week would be if I was Dan Campbell.
By the way, Inbred Spanish King, appreciate. I think it's Pennywise actually. He says fans would want Ben Johnson fired if he was calling plays this year, and with this version of our O-line, he wouldn't look good either this year. I mean, now we're just playing it. I mean, yeah, obviously the offensive line would hurt any guy calling plays, but I'm telling you, it would look better. Maybe they would still struggle in different areas, protecting Goff and running the ball, but like you can't like. You fired your play caller. You ripped the play calling duties from John Morton through like 4 weeks. I mean, you can't say they would want the guy fired. I'm telling you, they would not want him fired. I mean, they had a better O-line in 2022, but that was the year Jamal Williams, DJ Chark. You had Brock Wright.
DJ
Shark to do. DJ Shark to do. They had Brock Wright. And they were top 5 offense. Like, so it's like they had a better O-line. So like if your argument's just the O-line, it's like, okay, fine. But no, I don't think Ben would be fired. I don't know. I don't think that would be the case. They wouldn't want that man fired. You think you'd have the same? You're basically saying he would have the same outcome as John Morton. Like, come on. What do you think?
Nah.
Is that crazy?
No, I think you're spot on.
I'm not saying he would turn this offense into somewhat like obviously the offensive line was bad. I'm not saying that.
No, but like I do think everything goes back to this offensive line. Like I do. Like I don't know if Ben was here this year, like would he have? How much would have it changed? A little bit, but obviously there would have been issues. Like Ben would have been trying to obviously do everything he can to get it on track, but I just don't think there was a world where.
He would have used Monty more probably. Shift guys.
Probably, but I just don't know if there was a world where anyone would have been able to come in here and like scheme anything up with as bad as that interior of the offensive line was. Like if you're just getting like you could draw anything you want up, and if your running back's getting met in the backfield 50% of the time, and your quarterback's running for his life when he's not a mobile quarterback, and he's making off-platform throws, which that's not his thing, then like and any OC would be in there and struggle. A little bit.
I just think visually maybe it would look better.
A little better, yeah. That's why I think like that's why it's like I think Dan was good with what he worked with. Like I think that O-line was so bad, Dan was able to, kind of scrounge up and salvage is the word I was looking for. What they could.
Like I think why Dan wants to interview David Blough or try and bring in John Morton. I think the system they had with Ben and what Ben was really good at is Ben, and this is what good OCs are good at, is you run different plays out of similar sets, offensive sets. So it would be one play out of this set, and then you'd have the same set, different play. Now it's like you're able to scheme together and making your offense look the same, but do different things. That's what great OCs do. It's hard to predict at that point. I don't think they had a lot of that this year. I thought they were more predictable. And I think that's why Dan is probably looking at David Blough or John Morton to be like, and remember, Dan said, I want to get back to what we were years ago. It's like, that's probably what he's probably thinking is like, we were just at times a little too, our offensive line wasn't great. We were a little too predictable at times. It's like, I don't know. Maybe if Dan had a whole offseason, maybe that'd be something he would like lock in with. And, he kind of took it over middle of the year or early in the year, but
week 10.
Yeah. And
week
you brought
9.
up with Cory, the Amik Robertson stuff. I don't know what happens in free agency. I think that's one of the bigger conversations is kind of what happens with some of the guys that they could bring back. Amik Robertson, he said it multiple times. He said it technically in the player interviews. He did say he would want to come back here. He was like, I want to come back. He goes, I know the scheme. I feel like Detroit turned me into a better player. I want to come back. But then at the same time, he can't just assume. So he has to say, hey, good, peace, Detroit. Thank you for everything. But he wants to come back, I would assume. Based on what he said. So I don't know.
I will say his dad was under our tweets today, tweeting about Amik.
What did he say?
It sounded like his dad also was like, I would like Amik to come back. Like he was like, I would love my son to be back in Detroit. Essentially.
Yeah, but he likes it here.
Yeah. He said, I hope so. Someone tweeted in the tweet that we put out of Amik, and his dad follows us, and someone was like, I want him to come back. And he was like, I hope so. That's what his dad said. And then he had a couple paragraphs underneath. He was like, my son's playing. And then I think it's awesome. Like, dude, I think it's sweet. Like when parents are out there, like he said, he was like, my son's playing football or in the NFL at 5. I think he said 5'8". He's like, come on now. Like, I'm like, yeah, fire me up a little bit, dude. Dude's 5'8" in the NFL. It's unbelievable. Think about that.
What post was that? Was that the one
Under the Meek post today? I think the thing with the Meek, like, and this isn't a shot at Meek. I think this is just obvious. Like, I think this last year, like, I think Meek was really good. Not this last year, but the year before, he was really good when he was kind of that. I don't want to say like 6-man guy, but he was that kind of, he was moving around for you, and he was kind of your utility player. Whereas this year, there was a lot of times where you really had to rely on him. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he's not that great of a player. But when you have to rely on, a guy to be CB1, CB2, where he's more so of a utility player for you, yeah, you're going to get put in spots that maybe, like he's not a Sauce Gardner, and he's getting put in Sauce Gardner positions. And you're like, that's hard for a guy. And it's hard to blame him for that because he's getting thrown in those positions. And like, there's a reason he's not getting paid $20 million to be a corner. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason DJ Reed's getting paid 16, 18 million and Amik's half of that. It's because DJ Reed's the one that's supposed to be, carrying that kind of that luggage for you. And you're essentially just throwing all the luggage at Amik this year. And it was like, oh, that's tough. Him and Rocky Sin were the two most consistent corners on your team. And how are you going to be good like that? So I wouldn't hate Amik to come back. I'm not going to. I thought after last year, Jeff, we had the conversation where like it's impossible for Amik to come back next year because his price is going to be so high because he was playing so good. So now I just feel like his price is going to be a little bit. You might get a discount now.
Yeah, I don't know if Brad Holmes is. Brad Holmes is.
Is that actually Anakin? That has to be a fake Anakin account.
What are we doing, Anakin? What are you okay?
That's a fake Anakin account. Because he just put out there, he said, whoa.
I mean,
I don't agree with anything that was just put on our screen, Anakin.
I mean, is this Brad Holmes's like bot account or what is this?
Wow. I can't believe you put that on the screen, Jeff. Wow.
That's yeah, you know what, Anakin? No, we're just gonna act like that.
He said, no, it's not me, I swear. All right, Anakin.
All right, let's show his dad's tweet. Actually, his dad just said this is what his dad said actually on our Twitter. He did say so because someone responded, say let's hope we comes back because we posted him on his picture, his Instagram story, and he said with fans like you, I hope so. He said, yeah, that's my son. It's just a weird feeling seeing how fans talk so low of him. He's playing in the NFL at 5'8". Come on, people. None of those big corners play perfect football either, but it's all good. I'm proud of my son because he handles it with grace, and that they don't afford him in return. Damn. Yeah, if I would say about Amik, I'm cool with him coming back in the role he's in. I think he's a guy who can play outside and nickel. Like that's valuable. I wonder what his price tag. I don't think it's going to be anything. I mean, dude, it's not like he had a career year and balled out.
No, I think if it was after last year, maybe you wouldn't have been able to, but I think now this year.
But I kind of feel bad, like when I was hearing him speak, I kind of like had I had a soft spot for him because he was like, I learned, like I'm learning what not to jump and what routes to jump and not to jump. Like he's like, you could tell he just wants to be great. Like you could tell that was something that they were harping on him because he was trying to jump those routes to get interceptions and he gave up big plays. So it's like that shit you can't do, bro. Like they were one of the worst at giving up explosive plays, and some of that was because of Amik Robertson. He was just getting aggressive, trying to jump.
Come on, man.
Interceptions.
Yeah,
I'm cool with him coming back at a respectable.
You hate Amik
at like maybe like a CB3 role, but that's about it. Him and Rocky Sin. Now that dude, Rocky Sin outplayed his contract. I mean, he was not that he's gonna make big money or anything, but
no, he actually did. He outplayed it. He stepped up, and you were like,
quarterback 3, dude. And they still have Ennis Rakestraw, which we don't even know what the hell he is. I mean, what is going on? I don't even know what Ennis Rakestraw should be back next year, I guess.
Do you trust in Ennis Rakestraw? Yes or no?
I honestly forgot he was on the team. Like, I'm serious. I just forgot.
he's tweeted out more during games than he's played snaps. That's a mean comment. That was a mean. Ennis, if you're watching,
he's got more tweets than games played.
than snaps played. Not even games played. Than snaps played.
Yeah, it's not great.
During game time. Like, he's out there during the game tweeting out. He's like tweeting at guy, like fans and stuff, which good, you know, good for him. But
I don't know. He hasn't played. I just know in preseason he didn't look good. And that's all I have. I don't have him in, you know, and then in a game, I think I saw him in game action last year, I think, for some time, and he didn't look good either and got injured. So, and then he got injured this year and didn't look good. So I don't even know if Amit can play ball. Ennis can play ball. Ennis Rakestraw. I don't know if he can play ball. I don't, because we haven't seen him. At least Taron Arnold, we've seen ups and downs. I mean, I don't even know what the hell to think about Ennis, but he should be back. I mean, God willing, he's healthy for most of the season. So they got to make some. I mean, if you're one of the worst secondaries in the NFL, you have to think about what you're going to do there. I mean, do you want to bring in a new face? Because I want Avonte Maddox back. So you can't. I mean, at this point, you're bringing back the same exact secondary. I mean, if you bring back Amik, Rockison, Avonte, you're bringing back the same exact secondary. What's up?
I don't mean to interrupt. This is such an off-topic thing, but Michigan 13-0 is only up 1 with 1 minute left. If you see me looking down to my left here, they're in an absolute ball game versus Penn State. 9-5 Penn State.
Oh no. Oh no.
Undefeated season, dude. The crazy thing is like over the last couple, everyone's been like I saw a TikTok yesterday. There was like, this might be the first undefeated team we've seen, and like I'm just like, oh, they're gonna jinx them, and now they're in a 1-point game, bro. I mean, the day after. I'm sorry, I'm looking over here. I felt bad. You were talking, and I was just over here looking at the game. I turned it on.
They definitely jinxed them.
Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry.
40 feet on just said this. He said, there is zero excitement going into next year. Do you guys feel that too? I mean, I'm not there. I mean, I'm not there. I think this is what makes the sport so great is, you know, it's not always linear. There's going to be times where, you know, you're smacked in the face, and you're going to have some off seasons that maybe not like this, but unfortunately it was like this. And you got to kind of restructure things, not literally I mean, they're going to restructure contracts, but change kind of things. Offensive, it just comes with the journey. So adversity hit, how do they handle it? So it's kind of intriguing to me. I'm kind of excited for that, is to see how this regime handles adversity. I think it's a challenge for them, because it felt like it was sunshine and rainbows the last 2 years. Obviously the playoff loss last year was not, but the 15-2, you know, and then the injuries, but then they were 15-2 and they get bounced in the first round. But the year prior to that NFC Championship run, you win your first playoff game since 91, 92. And now it's just like, here we are missing the playoffs. So I'm excited. I'm excited for a different reason. I'm more intrigued, you know, to see how this team responds to it. Rando, appreciate the 2. He says, this is what chaos looks like. I think he's referring to the Lions. I mean, no, chaos to me would be the Browns right now. That's chaos.
Thank God we're not the Browns. Oh my gosh, we were the Browns for so long. Thank God we're not the Browns. All right, Michigan's shooting free throws.
The Browns, that's chaos. You want chaos? The Bengals. By the way, the Bengals won't even fire their head coaches because they have to pay them. So, like, there's really cheap owners out there. It could be worse. I know it's not what people want to hear, but it could be worse. And then you have the Raiders who are paying like 8 head coaches, and they're going to hire another one. So, I mean, that's what happens in the NFL, man. You get all types of teams. Ben, appreciate the comment. He says the reason Morton got fired and Shep went is because Morton lost the locker room. They lost respect for him. Shep did it. His guys would kill for him. He'll get another shot.
See, another shot, like, key word. Shout out Ben too, but key word is shot. Like,
he is right about the locker room thing, I guess.
Yeah, the locker room loves him, but it's just like, I don't know, dude. It's just at some point you just have to. I don't know. I don't know. It's a great point. I don't have anything to say about it, to be honest.
No, it is.
I like the point. It's more so just putting the product on the field. Like 5 years into this regime, and you haven't had an elite defense, and you're like so close to winning a Super Bowl. And Jeff, I think you could like agree on this. Like, if you just have a above average defense, you probably win a Super Bowl. But we just can't even we haven't been able to put that on the field. AG's last year we were able to do that, but then everyone was hurt.
Yep. I mean, everyone was hurt all at once. So I think there's two things that come with it. One, do you have the locker room, right? And then the other thing is, can you coach? I think the locker room is important. I think the locker rooms where you'd put is like number one, obviously, if players don't respect you, won't play for you, obviously that's a big issue. But you can be loved and still not be the best.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Job. You know what I mean? I think he's loved, and I don't deny that. I think Kelvin's a great dude. I think he's a great dude. I think players love him. But for whatever reason, schematically, players loving him, it did not translate to the field. And that happened more consistently towards the end of the season, really middle of the season to end of the season, than it did the opposite. So you have to look at it like that, man. The toughest part of making decisions like that is you got to see past the relationship you have with the individual and just ask yourself, are they the best qualified candidate for the job? And I just think in my opinion, I just don't think, Kelvin, you have time to find out. I think that's really more so the point. You just don't have the time to find out. You don't. You're trying to get this thing together quickly, and I don't think they have the time to find out if Kelvin's the right guy. So, again, if this is 2021, you would have time. You're still building. You've already built it, or at least you're close to it. Now you got to restructure. You got to restructure your offensive line, restructure your defensive line, but you don't have time to wait. And that's where I'm coming from with it, to be honest.
14-0. Yep. All right. I'll shut that off. Actually, oh no! What did I just do? I almost just shut my whole computer down. Hold on. We could be in a problem here. You could lose me in a sec.
Dan just said Amik is a great depth piece, but he should go where he's paid most. He deserves that. That's what I think. If he gets offered to be a CB2 somewhere, he should go take that
for sure. I think he would.
He's not going to be. You're not going to be a CB2 here. You're just not. Or start at nickel, but they don't use a lot of nickel, so he doesn't really get I'm trying to do what's best for him. I mean, it's dude, if you get to go play more somewhere else, might be a better opportunity for you.
Hold on now. One of my favorite people just popped on the screen here. Let's go.
Hey, shout out.
Come on now. Fired up.
Eric will be joining the show in a couple of minutes. We're going to get Eric on, talk some ball here. Dan just appreciate the 10, Dan. He says, I
thought of Dan the other day, dude.
Whatever happened to Dan Jackson? I know he had a leg injury during training camp. He was a baller at Georgia.
If he comes back, that's the safety depth for you. Imagine if you had Dan Jackson this year. I think Dan Jackson could be a piece.
He's a thumper. The guy can hit, dude.
He's legit. Like that, when you talk about a legit dude that you could find later in the draft, Dan Jackson, he was like that at Georgia a little bit. You didn't want to mess with Dan Jackson. That highlight mixtape that we put out sometimes with Dan Jackson, you know what? I'm going to put that out right now on our social. Shout out Dana. Dan
Jackson. Ronald, appreciate the 5. Rumor is Lions are going to interview David Blough for OC. Yes, we talked about that earlier in the show, so you can rewind back and listen to it. We spent a lot of time on it. Kind of gave our opinions on the David Blough stuff, which we'll be revisiting. I mean, they're going to interview more candidates, so we'll break all that stuff down. But right now, let's bring on our good friend here, Eric Vincent, to talk about the Detroit Pistons. He covers the Detroit Pistons for ClutchPoints.com. He joins the show, chops it up with us. Let's bring him in. Eric, how we doing, my friend?
Feeling good, fellas. What's going on, man? Good to see you guys. How's everything?
I say this, and for years it felt like, Eric, you were covering the team that, everyone's looking at damn, man, you got a tough gig here. Now you're covering the best team in the city now. It's like things change. Now the Lions are a shit show, and now the Pistons are just whooping the Knicks' ass yesterday. I mean, what the hell's going on with that?
Pistons are the biggest draw in the city, man. What is going on? We sacrificed off the Lions. Now the Pistons are at the top of the hierarchy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's great when the Pistons are good. And Eric, I do want to ask you. I mean, I saw the quote today we posted on our social media, and shout out Stephen A. Smith. I know that man he don't watch no Pistons basketball. Man.
No.
He just, I know he probably watched that game because the Knicks were playing. He watched the game. He said there's something brewing in the Motor City. And and he said the Pistons are a legit championship contender, which right now, I mean, they're just, last time we had you on, we were talking about JV Bickerstaff's deep rotation, and they just they're just figuring it out with dudes. I mean, they're a deep team. They're a very deep team, and they keep on winning games. What has been your thoughts on their play as of late? Kind of talk about yesterday, the win over the Knicks, and just how serious this Pistons team is. How do you feel? How do you feel about them now compared to when we last spoke to you, Eric? What have you learned about them?
Yeah, man, I'm reserving some of that doubt that I was having before, because I think that's what we were discussing with some areas in terms of their, dealing with a lot of the roster coming back. He was talking about tinkering with the lineup and whatnot, but JB has shown that it really don't, if there's anybody, it's a lot of Detroit sports teams that embody next man up. I think the Pistons have embodied it better than anybody else out of all the teams in Detroit right now, because JB has them really buying into a winning culture that I think is conducive towards postseason basketball. They still are sticking to what is working for them. They play amazing defense. I think they're one of the 5 best defensive teams in basketball. They still punish teams in the paint. They create extra opportunities at the glass. And you have a certified number 1 that's an MVP caliber player, which kind of makes all of that worth it. So it's not like granted, I think there's stars on the Lions and there's stars on, other teams, but Cade is, I think, the biggest, maybe outside of Scooble in Detroit with the Tigers. I think Cade is that still the biggest star out of Detroit sports, because he's not even as good as he's going to be yet. Cade playing at this level, knowing he's going to get even better and better in years, in probably 2-3 years from now in his contract, he still has a lot of growing, and the roster can grow a lot in his favor as well. So it's been awesome, man. Again, it's reserved some of my fears that I had earlier in the season, but it's still a long season. But I'm loving the direction that they're going in right now.
Hey, Eric, I want to ask you this. And first off, I would like to hand up. I'm going to say this because someone in the chat, our guy in the chat just said, Booner, how about Paul Reed? Hand up, apology. I love Paul Reed. I was very upset last year when Isaiah Stewart was out.
Paul, Boone. B-ball Paul.
I think as fans and covering the team, there are emotions, right? When Isaiah Stewart goes down last year versus the Knicks, there were moments where I was like, B-ball Paul, we need you. We're not going to win with you. I'm sorry. I hand up the B-ball Paul. He's a dog. Yes. He really is a dog. I like B-ball Paul, so I apologize to him. Eric, one thing I'm actually interested to hear your thoughts. I just keep seeing national media keep shooting down, even after a 30-point win over the Knicks last night. Everyone still gives the Knicks credit somehow. So it's one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life covering sports, that a team could do so much to prove themselves, and then even after beating the Knicks by 30, everyone's still just being like, well, the Knicks, how about? What do you think, in your opinion, that this Pistons team has to do? I guess just to prove to not just the NBA but national media that, hey, we are a legit contender, because it feels like they have, in our eyes, and in Detroit, they've proven it. And it's how do we get this out into the national media that, hey, this is a real team that can win a championship this year?
Yeah, the Pistons still get the redheaded stepbrother treatment, and I really don't like it. It's a big reason why, normally beat reporters don't put their fandom on display. I do, because I don't like the way national media really covers this team. I think they do a lazy job with a lot of the assessments. And even with what you just asked, how do you watch the Pistons, who played the Knicks super tough in the last playoff series with a somewhat different team, but now they're shorthanded? I think they lose a little bit of their talent, but their cohesiveness and their discipline as a team in terms of their growth is what catapulted them to the butt whooping that they just put on last night. And to still sit here and say, oh, but the Knicks though, or I think I saw some ranking or some projection where even the Celtics were ahead of them. It really doesn't make sense to me. I think you see a lot of the NBA analysts, lean towards the league with their basically what they say in terms of star power, because that's what they lean on in a lot of what they talk about. They don't really dig into what the impact of a Duncan Robinson has made or how good Dennis Jenkins has played. Like, they don't really pay attention to those kind of players. And granted, I understand, but that's why we're here. That's why Crunch Time exists. Like, that's why these platforms are super important, because these guys do deserve their credit. And unfortunately for the Pistons, not unfortunately, but they're just going to have to go prove it. From all the success that we've seen in the Pistons lineage in terms of their championship teams, whether it was the Bad Boys, the 04 Pistons, or even the Pistons right now, the Pistons have always been disruptors. Like, nobody wanted to see the Pistons beat Jordan or take down Larry Bird or take down Magic, but they made it happen. Kobe and Shaq were supposed to win 1 million championships. 04 Pistons had different plans. And now when you look at the Pistons now, everything is always about Shea and Joker, and they're good players, or even Jalen Brunson and the talent in the East. They're good players, but what the Pistons are doing is absolutely unbelievable, especially coming from 2 years ago when they were the laughing stock of the NBA. That should count for something, and I wish they would get more respect in that regard, because what they're doing is super rare and not easy.
Yeah, I think to look forward, people, they look forward to the trade deadline for teams that are, in the Pistons position. People always want to try and last time we had John, we talked, I think, about the Anthony Davis shit, which, that's a whole other thing. But just looking forward at acquisitions, are you, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last time we talked to you, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you were kind of on the side of like, they just have such good chemistry right now. It's something you kind of got to, like, they're playing so well together. It's something you got to be very careful with if you're going to make a move, a massive move, and start trading away foundational pieces. Do you still kind of hold that same thought? Do you think this is a great team as constructed and you just want to see them continue to grow? Or is it something you think the Pistons really got to consider if you want to get over the top? Or are you looking at like the Thunder, kind of like, hey, we can have a core here and try and win a championship with the MVP caliber player in Cade Cunningham?
It's really tough, man, because when you're the number one seed, when you're one of the best teams in the NBA, it's hard to tinker with what's going so well right now. Like, even going into this back-to-back with Cleveland and New York, I was nervous because I thought they may have an issue being shorthanded on a back-to-back against two of the tougher teams in the East, and they kind of walked both of them. So for me, I'm not going to lie, man, I'm still kind of on the side. Like, granted, I love the cohesion, but I don't know how much I trust that once the playoffs are going to get here. I think this kind of works now for the regular season, even going through injuries and whatnot and the adversity that they've seen with the roster. I think it works, like when you have Cade playing as well as he is. But I do worry when we get to the regular or the postseason and defenses tighten up a little bit, and Cade is getting doubled just a little bit too much, and then his turnovers are going up, and he's playing tired in the fourth quarter. We just saw that in the regular season after they even beat the Knicks 3 times in the regular season the year prior. So me, to be honest, man, I do still kind of want them to make a trade because I think they have pieces that are expendable at this point. I think you kind of see the cracks in the wall with the players that they have. And when you make a trade, you have to go get the players that make the most sense. And me and you agreed on it. I think a guy like Trey Murphy makes the most sense on this market because who knows what's going to be available next season. For all you know, let's say Trey Murphy doesn't go to the Pistons and instead he goes to Miami or some other rising team in the East. Now you got to deal with that for the next 5 years, and that could be a problem. So it's not easy to sit and just wait for the right piece. I think there are a couple pieces that make sense, and I really don't want them to do what the Lions just did, where they just, everything's cool with internal development. No, it's not, Brad. Please go do your job. So I'm really hoping they take note of that and pay attention to some signs. I don't think they need to crash out and, overspend or make a lot of calls, but I think there are some areas that could make sense in terms of their roster enhancement in preparation for the future and the playoffs.
Yeah, Eric, we've talked a lot this year, especially heading into the season. I think we talked about expectations like a bunch and talking about, hey, we just need to, obviously, I think a lot of us were, hey, Eastern Conference Finals or even winning a series. Do you think now, like we're in January 6th, we're almost halfway through the year, have your expectations now officially turned to like, hey, you got to get to the finals. Like you're the best team in the East. Those expectations have changed. And even then, like I think the expectations for in season, what you just said, like now your expectations in the off season with Trajan all of a sudden changed too. Does that kind of have your expectations changed at all? now that we're in January and you see the record that they have?
100% it has. Even with them being number one in the East, it 100% has changed because the Pistons have proven with players missing on their roster due to injury, they can compete and beat anybody. You don't sleep on that. I really want them to take this serious. And like coming into the season, Trajan kind of said, hey, we're focusing on development. We're focusing on what the roster looks like with the young core. I think we kind of know who the core is at this point, at least the most important areas heading into the season. Like we know what Cade is. We know what Asar brings. We see how good Jalen Duren has become. We see even with Ivy returning from his injury, he's still playing productive basketball. And you see other pieces like Dennis Jenkins and the veterans and Javonte Green and Isaiah Stewart and even B-Ball Paul. Like these guys are fitting and working, but at the same time, man, I'm sorry, that Micah Parsons trade in the NFL is giving me PTSD. That changed the entire division for the Detroit Lions. I don't want them resting on their laurels thinking, hey, we'll just kick our feet up. If things don't go right this year, there's always next year. No. It's not always next year because you have no idea what's going to happen. Barring major injuries. Again, a lot of teams in the East are hungry to move up and make some moves so they can get out of the East. You don't want to fall behind that. And again, me personally, I'm just personally tired of seeing Cade Cunningham get triple teamed and double teamed so much. Like knowing if you just had one more certified bucket getter. Again, Trey Murphy is the guy that's just going to stay on my mind. I think he is the perfect piece that can take a lot of that attention away from a guy like Cade to put them over the top, not just for this season, but for the next 5 to 10 years. I think Trey Murphy is a sensational basketball player. I think he needs a better opportunity. I think he would be a seamless fit in Detroit. I like him a lot more than the MPJ rumors. Anthony Davis, I'm glad that has kind of died down because that still doesn't make sense. I really think Trey Murphy is the perfect kind of piece for this team. How much it's going to cost, we don't know, but I don't want them to sit thinking everything is fine now, so it's going to be good later. I don't think so. I think you got to be a little bit more aggressive and make sure you're good heading into these windows.
Yeah, I think a good conversation I always ask you about Jaden Ivey. It seems like, man, you're watching this bench, and there's so many good players that are coming off this bench and making plays. And Ivey actually had a really good game against the Knicks. I thought just entirely he's impacting winning, which I think is something people always question with Ivey. It's like he puts up stats, but is he impacting winning? I thought he did against the Knicks, but just as a kind of his role on the team, I think for me, that's where I kind of struggle is I'm like, I think he's just in a weird spot where he doesn't have a true he's a guy who comes off the bench. He's another ball handler. It's going to take some time for him to get his burst back. I think we can all agree there, but just from his perspective, like what's like the future role of a guy like Jaden Ivey? Because you would have thought a year ago before the injury, guy start next to Cade. But things change when you're injured. Now you got a team that's playing really good basketball. He's coming off the bench, but you have Dennis Jenkins who's coming off the bench and playing really well. Like, what's his role look like to you, and just in the future, like come playoff time? Like, what's the impact of Ivy? What do you see his role as, big picture?
Yeah, I think we're still watching it develop in real time right now. Me personally, and again, I've been one of his biggest supporters. I thought he looked like a star in the making last season. I think he had flashes even during the Monty Williams era when he was putting up 37 against the Kings and, really showing that he had the burst and some unteachable things that you just couldn't, sleep on. So as they stand now, I think he's doing what they need him to do. I think he's doing the right thing instead of trying to go out and show, hey, I still got it, coach. I'm going to go play Jalen Green hero ball and try to ISO and go get mine. He's not doing that. He's coming in. I don't want to say he's playing passive, but he's just playing complementary basketball within the unit. He's shown that he can play with the bench unit. He's shown that he can, blend in as a sixth man with, Cade and some of the other starters. And I think he's doing a really good job with some of the things that they've asked him to do. I think he's playing some of the best defense of his career. I think he's statistically, he's one of the best three-point shooters on the team since he's come back. I think he does a really good job of moving without the basketball. There was a play yesterday where Dennis Jenkins was driving. I think he brought two guys to him, and Ivy cut for a dunk. And, it kind of shocked a lot of people because he saw the burst in his leaping ability and his ability to kind of, help create some offense, which this team has needed pretty badly, over the past couple months. But in terms of his long-term role, I'm not very certain right now. I think he's, again, kind of just playing out to see what it's going to be. the injury couldn't have come at a worse time, unfortunately for him. But the way he's adapted, I give him a lot of credit for it, because the injury alone is probably weighing on his mental. And then seeing the team play good without you, that can't be easy to deal with as well. So knowing he's just kind of coming in saying, what do you need me to do, coach? I'm here. I'm, trying to do my part. And I think he's done a pretty good job with that. I like that his minutes are ramping up a little bit more. Even when he misses shots, I think he's taking quality looks. He's not forcing anything bad that's like serving as a detriment to the team. So again, I'm not 100% sure what his role is, because you don't know what they might want to do by the deadline. And how valuable he could be in terms of his health. But I like that he is, kind of just adapting to what the team needs, instead of putting his individual value before the team's success of a number one team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, the last question for you, Eric. Jim Costa said it on 97 on the ticket, and me and Booner had the conversation. Yeah, shout out Jim, dude.
That's my dog.
He's holding it down. I think he brought up that the only player in the NBA he would trade Cade for is Victor Wembanyama. I think that's a fair I don't think there's I'm looking around Anthony Edwards, obviously, but there's so many things you look for in a franchise player. I think Cade just checks the box, on top of him being as incredible as he is, such a complete player. Where are you at with that? The more I think about it, I don't think there's too many guys. You could probably name Victor because he's just incredible. Victor struggles staying healthy at times too. Like, there's probably some things with a lot of players, but where are you with Cade? I know you talked about him earlier, but just like looking around the league, looking at other franchise guys, like, he's up there, Eric.
Man, I still don't think people understand how good this guy is, because I totally agree. I would trade. And honestly, even Wemby is kind of a crapshoot, because you're worried about those legs and his health how that's going to sustain. So yes, while Wemby is fantastic, you kind of worry about what the next 10 years are going to look like for him. I don't worry about that with Cade Cunningham. I wouldn't trade him for a soul if I were the Detroit Pistons. I think he is extraordinary, man. We've been talking about it since 2021. Like, a lot of my homies were asking me, because it's a star-driven league and a lot of point guards. Oh, would you trade Ja for him, or Trae Young, or SGA, Luka? No, I'm not trading Cade for any of those guys, man. I think he checks a lot of the boxes as a complete player. And even when he doesn't have a perfect area where people clown or go off on him about his efficiency or his turnovers, like, even if he is giving you that, he's still giving you 13 assists to go with it. Even if he's not, super efficient, he's still creating for his teammates. And now he's getting to the free throw line a lot more. He's been super aggressive. He's been posting up a lot. And I think the refs are starting to give him a more favorable whistle. I don't even think he's flopping like Shea or Luka do. I think he's just genuinely engaging in the contact that he's been getting since his rookie year. And they're finally starting to see that. But no, I don't think Cade Cunningham is you don't trade him for anybody. Not Anthony Edwards, not Giannis. Like, I love Joker, but again, I don't know how much longer he's going to be at the peak of what we're seeing right now. Like, Cade is so rare of a player. Again, the ability he has to create for himself and then raise the floor for everybody else around him, knowing he's also never played with another all-star as a co-star. If I had an MVP vote, he's number one for that exact reason. I love SGA and what I don't love SGA. I like SGA and what he's doing, but Cade, to me, I think his case speaks for itself if people are paying attention to it, of course.
Yeah, I agree with that. We appreciate you, Eric. You guys can follow Eric. Please do. Pistons coverage. He does a great job. I am Eric Vincent. Eric, we'll talk to you soon, my friend. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate y'all. Take it easy. Peace
Thanks,
out,
Eric.
Booner.
There you go.
Hey, Eric.
There you go. Eric Vincent joining the show, talking to the fellas. We have our for Top 10 Tuesday. We're doing.
Hey, by the way, Eric kills it every time, dude. The man.
Yeah, we have a hell of a Pistons lineup, but we got. the people we have: Sean Murphy, Eric Vincent. We're trying to reach out to Koo. I want to get Koo on as well, but there's some dudes that. It's great coverage. Shout out Brandon as well. Detroit Kool-Aid. That's my guy. That's great.
Shout out Kool-Aid, bro. I love Kool-Aid. It was good seeing him the opening night too. We haven't seen him since. Shout out Tom too, dude.
Yep. Yeah. Shout out Tom, dude.
I love Tom, dude. He's my favorite, bro. One of the best dudes of all time. When we talked to him, I was like, this might be the greatest guy of all time, dude.
Yeah, he does. He really does. And we have, by the way, for Top 10 Tuesday, we're doing something a little differently. We're not doing just averages top 10 teams. We're doing top 10 from number 1 being the best contender entering the playoffs to 10 being the least contender out of the 10. So we're doing most likely to win the Super Bowl, or at least teams we could see winning the Super Bowl. That's what we're doing today.
I just got an alert on my phone, reposted by Darius Fountain, one of my favorite wide receivers of all time from the Detroit Lions.
Ooh, what was
my
posted? What
guy.
would he repost?
Just one of our posts. I mean, he's a good. He always is liking our stuff and my stuff too. I showed love to Darius Fountain in camp.
Shout out
I tried to
Darius
get him on the 53-man roster. I tried. I did everything I could.
Yeah,
I think he saw it. I think he heard.
respected it. All right.
One of my all-time favorite Lions that never made the 53-man roster.
Yeah, he could be back at some point. Never know.
You never know. I don't think he's on any roster this last year, so I don't know if it's. I don't know.
All right, let's get into it. I can go first.
So interested to see your list because I'm not going to say I struggled with mine, but I was a little like, what do I do here?
I don't think you're going to like my list. I don't think you're going to like it.
You're going to have. Let me guess. I think you have the Bills at like 10.
No, a different team. But let me not at 10 though.
Seahawks.
Yeah, let me.
Oh, why?
Let me. All right, I'll go first. These are my top 10 contending teams entering the playoffs. I'll start with my list. This is my list. All right.
This guy is so consistent, dude. It's unreal.
These
Handle
are
it.
my top 10 teams most likely to win the Super Bowl. All right. My number one team, the Los Angeles Rams. I think they're the most dangerous team in the playoffs. I think
everyone should agree with that.
Yeah, I think they're the most dangerous team in the playoffs. I think the way Matthew's playing ball, the way those receivers, I think Devontae Adams will be back. And Puka, offensive player of the year candidate. They got a two-headed monster in the backfield, 3 different tight ends. The defense, you have a defensive line. You got guys that can create turnovers, well coached. They don't beat you. They don't beat themselves often. They really don't. So they're a dangerous team. So and Sean McVay, Matthews, Super Bowl experience. I think they should be everyone's number one team heading into the playoffs. So I have the Rams at number one. Number 2, I have the Bills. If this isn't the Bills' year to make the Super Bowl, I don't know what is, man. I just don't. And I know that Josh Allen's roster. I'm not looking at. I think Josh has pressure, but I also want to give him a little leeway because let's look at who he's. I mean, dude, who he has in the playoffs, like that defense isn't that good. Okay. And then on top of that, he has no weapons. So I would like to say like the pressure's on Josh Allen, but it's like the guy had better rosters in the past. So it's kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of split on that a little bit, but they still with Josh Allen, you should be
so open right now in the AFC.
Favorite. Yeah. Coming out of the AFC, at least in my opinion, with a quarterback like that. Number 3, I have the Broncos. I think that defense mixed with Sean Payton, I think Bo Nix is, he's not a world beater, but still, I think that defense is going to keep them in every game they're in. I mean, that defense is incredible. I think defense is very important heading into the playoffs. I just have the Bills as an exception because it's Josh Allen. So I just think he's so good. He could probably just make way and fight through that. But the Broncos defense, I think, will keep them in at pretty much every game they're in. So I think they're dangerous to make a postseason run. And then I have the Patriots, who, again, defensively, they've been playing really good football. Shout out Mike Vrabel. I mean, the guy is just an incredible coach. That's why he's defensive coach, obviously, but still offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels. He does a great job. And I think Drake May is an incredible quarterback. So I think they have a lot of things going their way. Their schedule was pretty easy. So I think that's the argument for people is like, okay, he's kind of easy schedule. What does it look like when you start facing really good teams? I don't know, but they're blowing out bad teams. So I would like to think the Patriots are going to hang in there. By the way, ETN just said Broncos will be one and done. The Broncos to me are hard to.
Wait, what was that hand motion? Just
they're kind of hard.
Do that again.
Like this?
Oh, I thought you just went.
No, they're kind of.
I was like, what was that?
They're hard to predict. Because honestly, I'm not even going to argue they won't be one and done. I just think as a team, defensively, they're so good. But I'm not going to sit here and say that Bo Nix is going to go on a run. But I just think that defense, like they're going to have a chance in every game. And I will say it. The thing the Broncos have that the Seahawks don't have, we haven't seen Bo Nix in this moment. I don't know if he'll choke. Okay, at least Sam Darnold, we've seen this man choke.
Weren't they in the playoffs last year or no?
At least as a top, let me see. They might have been in the playoffs last year.
I thought I could be wrong. Maybe they just missed it.
Yeah, they were in the playoffs. They lost last year. He didn't play terrible, but
they lost to the Bills 31-7.
Yeah, they got destroyed by the Bills.
Jeez.
So, but I think that was a lot of things with that. I would say in this position being the number 1 seed, that's probably where I was going more so. Like really good record, a lot of expectations, and then choking. So that's what I mean, really. And we saw the Vikings won 14 games and Sam Darnold laid an egg. So I would, it's not that, again, I'm not going to sit here and argue too much about it, but I like the Broncos and I like their coach too. Sean Payton obviously holds a little weight there too. Number 5, I have the Eagles. I know people are probably thinking, why do you have the Eagles? Championship experience, good defense. And I just don't know, man. The offense is terrible to watch, but I just think with the players they have, with the experience they have, you at least have to have them at least up there. You don't have to have them top 3 or top 4, but they at least have to be on the front half of your list because of that. In my opinion, number 6, I have the Seahawks. Again, I'll go with the same argument as I did the Broncos. Great defense. Okay. Great defense. I just think coaching wise, I don't know what I'm getting out of Mike McDonald. I think he's a second year coach. Second year coach. I think that's a big question mark. I just want to see how this man does in the playoffs from a coaching perspective. Sam Darnold, obviously a big question mark, but their defense, I'm not going to sit here and say their defense is really good. So their defense is going to keep them in games. Okay. We've seen that. And I like their OC a lot, Clint Kubiak. I think he's a guy who should be interviewed for head coaching gigs. So they do have a really good OC. And they do have better weapons than the Broncos. So you can give me that argument as well. That's fine. But I just hate Sam Darnold so much that we're knocking him down to 6. So I'll admit it. I have a bias.
That's why I said I respect how consistent you are with that. I respect it. I know you don't believe it, but I respect it because you just keep doing it.
I do believe. I believe Sam Darnold. Who they play for? They have a bye, but I wonder who they're going to play coming out of that.
Probably I don't know.
We'll find out. That'll be fun. We'll see. It might be the Bears. Number 7, the Texans. I've been saying, speaking of consistency, I think they're the biggest sleeper in the AFC. I do. I think they're a sleeper, even though they won 11 games or whatever, 12 games. But I just think it's a team that's been red hot. Their defense is, I think, the best in the NFL. I think their defense is the best. And we've seen C.J. Stroud play at a high level. So I think that makes them very dangerous. Offensive line isn't great. So there's a big question mark. And, DeMeco Ryans, I don't know about him. But I think as a team, quarterback, defense, I think they're very dangerous. And they have weapons. So I like the Texans. They're kind of a sneaky team for me. So team to watch for sure. Number 8, I have the Jacksonville Jags. With Liam Cohen, first-year head coach. They're humming. Ever since they got Jacoby Myers, they've been playing really good football. So the Jags are another dangerous team. I don't think they're going to make it deep in the playoffs. I think there's still more work to do with that team, but it's exciting. First year, Liam Cohen's a great coach, and they're doing some great things over there. We'll see what Trevor Lawrence looks like because, he had that playoff run a couple years ago where they took the Chiefs down to the fourth quarter. And they lost that game. So we'll see. Maybe he gets another chance at it. They can make a little playoff run. I have the Chargers at 9. I think the Chargers are an interesting team. They're just so banged up. And they rested a lot of guys on the last game of the year to get healthy. But I don't think that'll be I think they're just still dealing with a lot of injuries, even if guys play. So Chargers have a great defense. They got a good quarterback. You could argue they could be higher, but that offensive line, man, has me and you blocking for them. So it's I'm surprised. We bring up O-line. No one talks about the Chargers. That O-line is awful. They lost.
They lost everyone. And it honestly, it has nothing to do with how they built it. It's just they ran through injuries, dude. It's
just injuries on the O-line, man. I don't know.
And Justin Herbert, they just keep finding ways to win games.
And they're playing the Patriots, which I don't know. That could be an interesting game. We'll see. They'll be in the game, but I just don't know if they have enough personally. And then the number 10, I have the 49ers. And I'm going back to what I said about the coaching, quarterback, and they got some great players still. I mean, they have injuries. Robert Saleh's doing a good job on the defensive side. I think the defense is what's holding them back. They should be higher if they had more pieces. But when you have Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, you got George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, those are guys that are championship material, even though they haven't won, but they've made Super Bowls. So I got to put them on my list. I don't have the NFC North teams on my list. I don't think the Bears or the Packers are better than these teams when it comes to a postseason run. I just don't think they're ready for it. I think the Packers are too injured, and I think the Bears are too new.
What about the Steelers?
It's fuck no. Steelers.
Who else did you leave out? You left one more team out. Who's the fourth team?
Panthers.
Oh yeah, it's fair.
Which the Panthers are not on my list.
I can't believe you don't have the Bears.
Yeah, I just think it was really the Bears or the 49ers for the 10th spot, and they just beat them. So I like 49ers. I like them.
You want to throw mine up there? Because I mean, we have kind of a similar, but kind of we don't. We have actually a little bit of a mix-up. I have a team on mine that you don't have on yours.
All right, talk to me.
All right. I'll start at the front. Los Angeles Rams. I think what you said is spot on. I think the Rams, Jeff, I think they should be the favorite. They're in my opinion, I think they're the scariest team in football right now. Like, no one wants to go up against them. They've had their games, obviously, lose to the Panthers, struggle a little in the first half versus the Lions. But, dude, they're from top to bottom, every position group that you go around, maybe outside of, like, corner, is the only, negative you could say maybe on their team. But they have just so many weapons, good offensive line, good D-line. I think if you look at who wins football games in January, February, it's always the trenches, and they have that at a high level, and they have a quarterback that's been there and done that. I think they're the only one outside of Jalen Hurts in the postseason that has. I think Matthew Stafford and Jalen Hurts are the only two Super Bowl winning quarterbacks in the postseason this year. And to me, I kind of trust Matthew Stafford more. And he's obviously had an insane year, an MVP year. So I think they're the scariest team. The Seahawks, I have them at 2, Jeff. You have them at 6. I do think you just put them, and I genuinely believe this. I think you just put them at 6 because of how you feel. I think you're being consistent, which I love. But I think that defense, you can have Sam Darnold all you want. What wins games in the postseason, man? I said it's the trenches, but it's also defense. And I arguably, you could say them and the Broncos have the 2 best defenses in the entire NFL right now. And you could say the Seahawks is number 1. And I think that's going to give them an opportunity to win any football game all postseason long. And if you end up getting, and I don't know if it could work out that way, but if you end up getting like Rams, Seahawks or something in the championship, like, would I be shocked if that Rams or that Seahawks defense can slow down Matthew Stafford and the Rams? No, not at all. Because it's just that good. And up front, they give you that many problems. Number 3, I essentially just went my top 2 NFC teams and then my next couple AFC teams here to compete for the Super Bowl. I have the Bills. I think they're the best in the AFC right now. I know they don't have the same record or as good of a record as the Broncos, Patriots, or Jags. But I think they're when you have Josh Allen, and I think you have kind of the experience. You saw a couple of weeks ago what the experience does in that Bills versus Patriots game, Jeff, where, Patriots are up multiple scores and Josh Allen and that team finds a way to come back and win the game. And I think that comes down to experience and being there, have done that. And I think in the postseason, this feels like it's this Bills postseason for once now. Broncos, I just think they're the 1 seed, Jeff. They have the bye. So if I'm talking about contending teams, they're put in a really good position. You just win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. And that defense, again, I'm consistent. Defense wins championships. I'm taking the Broncos in the defense. Patriots, I think they're just the next best team out of this group. That's kind of how I went about it. Offense looks good with Drake May. Stephon Diggs is, by the way, they lost, what's his name, didn't they? Travion Henderson. He's out for the year. No?
I don't know.
I thought he liked Achilles or something.
No, he's active.
Oh, maybe he's good then. Yeah, if he's good to go, that Patriots team's scary. That defense is scary, man. Mike Vrabel's defense, I love his football team. So I have him at 5. The Eagles, the one for me, the reason I have the Eagles at 6, Jeff, and then you had them a little higher. The reason I have them as high as I do is because they've won a championship before last year, so they know how to do it. But the reason I'm also have them low is because they are one of the more inconsistent football teams in the playoffs, in my opinion. You don't know what Eagles team you're going to get day in and day out. You have no clue, 0 clue. So that's why I put them there. Jags at 7. I did put them above the Texans and San Fran. I think the Jags right now are just really hot, man. They've been playing some of their best football of the year. Their defense is playing well or has played well. And that offense, like you said, they had Jacoby Myers, man. This offense, ETN's been playing incredible. Trevor Lawrence has been just managing that offense. And Liam Cohen, dude, he's a hell of a coach, dude. He really is. And I think this Jags team, I believe they play the Bills, and they might not make it out of the first round, but I think they're going to give the Bills a little bit of a problem, and I think the Bills win it, but it's going to be a good game. I do have San Francisco over the Texans as well. I know you had them at 10. I think San Francisco, man, they just have some experience, and Shanahan, you can't count them out, and they just keep winning games, Jeff. They find a way. Brock Purdy is so good. I'm no longer on that Brock Purdy's not good train, or like, hey, is he? How is he? He's a very good quarterback. He's a top 10 quarterback in this league, and it's not even a question. He's incredible. And they keep figuring out ways with Robert Saleh on that defense to make plays. By the way, Ready to Meet said I'm gaslighting Jeff. Jeff, did I gaslight you? What happened?
No.
People just say that, man. It's the worst. I don't think I did.
By the way, Brock Purdy, real quick, 9 games, 20 TDs. That's fucking insane.
It's insane, dude. He's a top 10 quarterback.
I didn't even think about that, dude. He was on pace for like 40 TDs.
Yeah, he was having an insane season, dude. That offense, dude, I remember watching the last game that he played, and it was like some of the plays he was making, you're like, dude, this guy got drafted last overall. It's insane, dude. It really is. 9th, though, I have the Houston Texans. I'm with you. I do think that Texans, like, if you're talking about a sleeper team, I think the Texans is a really good sleeper team. Like, if you're looking to put a team to go to the Super Bowl and to find some value, I think this Texans team, and you know what, Jeff, maybe I'm contradicting myself a little bit, because I do say defense wins championships, and they have one of the better defenses in the NFL as well. So maybe I could move them up a little bit. And then I did have the Bears at 10, Jeff. I think the Bears beat the Packers, and then you just have to win one game if you're the Bears, man. You probably play what? The Eagles, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then they already beat the Eagles. Like, I think the Bears might be a dangerous team. And you know why they're the dangerous team that I was thinking about it today too, Jeff? Is you talk about like defense, all that. When you get into the playoffs, every single game's one possession. And it's like those teams that know how to like get through those one possession games and figure it out. Those teams do pretty well in the play. They've done that all year long. And I know the Vikings team a couple years ago like won the most one possession games of all time, and they got blown out in the playoffs like round 1. I feel like the Bears are going to get by this Packers team, and if they're in a close game versus like the Eagles or someone like, dude, Jeff, I would not be shocked if they just pull out and they end up sitting there and you're like, the Bears are in the NFC Championship game right now. I would not be shocked.
That you don't want that. That's
you don't. But would you be shocked?
No, I think I'd be shocked year 1, but I mean, the way they get turnovers on defense, they can't compete. Like,
they win one possession games, dude, and they just keep winning them. Like the Chargers, like I get why you have the Chargers on there, but like, yeah, on paper maybe, but in my opinion, like the Chargers play the Patriots round 1. Chargers are going to get bounced. They're one and done. I'm not even throwing that. I don't even think they're going to contend for anything. Like they're going to lose by 20 round 1 with that defense.
Yeah, I think the interesting team for me, I'll bring up on the NFC is the Bears. I just want to see what it translates to. I mean, they won all these one possession games. I don't know. I don't think they're ready yet, but you never know. Ben Johnson, new head coach. It's and then the Jags too. I think those are my 2 teams around, and the Patriots. There's kind of 2 in the AFC. Like I want to see how those teams kind of like. Okay, new head coach, boom, you win a bunch of games. It's like, okay, how sustainable? What happens? Like the Patriots with Mike Vrabel and Drake May's ball, an MVP candidate. Like, could that be a team that makes a little run? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. Like, let's say you get like Patriots, they win and they end up squaring off with like a pretty good AFC team. Like, I think they could, with Drake May, they could probably hang with some good teams now. Like I think that's a team. I just want to see what they look like against the Chargers. I don't know. There's some question marks to those teams, but this playoffs is wide open. There's just so many question marks with different teams.
Should we do? I guess we could. What's tomorrow? Wednesday. We could on Friday. Playoffs start Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Me and you could do our playoff predictions and like who we think wins each round and like do our bracket.
Yeah, we could pick our Super Bowl winners.
Yeah, our conference champions, our conference, who's in them, and then our winners. We could like make a bracket, and I'm sure. Well, honestly, I bet you there's a thing online we could just click through it and then screenshot it and use that.
Which, by the way, Dante, appreciate the 5. Says Michigan just survived against Penn State with a 74-72 victory, so that tells me that Michigan is mortal. Who you can push to the limit. They are mortal.
I would say, yeah, they are mortal, which I think like. let's talk positive here, Jeff. It's a good thing that they, play a close game. Like, you got to play a close game here and there. It's good. They've been beating every team by 30. They're like averaging beat. Like, I don't know if you've paid attention or seen. They're like, I don't know what their average margin of victory is. I think it was like 30 something going into today. And it was like no one's ever seen this in college basketball before. They're just manhandling legit like Big Ten teams. They're just legit teams. They're just like rolling teams by 40, and everyone's like, like teams that are like 9-3, 10-3. Like, everyone's like, what? They're that good. They're so good.
By the way, ETN, which quarterback in the playoffs do you trust the most?
It's crazy to say Stafford. No, that's not crazy, actually. Stafford. I was going to say Josh Allen.
Stafford or Josh Allen. I think it's I wouldn't hate either one. I think Josh Allen's I would say you have two different. You could say Stafford because of the weapons and in what he's working with, and because it's Stafford, he's so good. Combined with that, Josh Allen maybe doesn't have all the talent, so you're probably like, but he is Josh Allen. So those two to me are the two that you probably.
It has what I don't like, and it could be a good or a bad thing, but like Stafford the last few weeks has been a little. He's been a little unhappy. Man's thrown a couple picks where you're like
outside of those two.
Actually, I'll throw in there. I'll do one in the NFC and one in the AFC.
Okay.
I trust Drake May.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
I trust Drake May.
It's crazy to say that, but he doesn't look like a rookie.
No.
Anymore, because he's not, but he doesn't look like a rookie to the playoffs. Like I wouldn't imagine he would play like a rookie entering the playoffs kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like his first time being in the playoffs, he would have the shake. So then I feel like he'll just come out there and be really good.
Very poised, and then he has a defense backing him. My NFC one. Do you want to go? Or do you want me to go through at my NFC one?
No, say your NFC one.
Brock Purdy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think here. I mean,
you could say Jalen Hurts, but like in my opinion, this year, if I had to pick Jalen or Brock, I would go Brock. I think, and they play each other. I think the 49ers might win that matchup, beat the Eagles.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that. I know people said CJ Stroud. It's okay.
I don't really. Yeah, but I just maybe I don't know.
Outside of like Drake May, I mean, I don't know who else you're really going with. Probably besides Josh Allen, probably CJ. But anyway, Brock Purdy in the NFC is a good one. Jalen Hurts, probably those two. I would probably lean between. I don't know. Caleb Williams. I don't know yet. I don't know yet with him. Jordan Love. Okay. He still has something to prove to me. Sam Darnold, definitely not. Definitely not. And I don't know. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Probably those two. Yeah, definitely not. Besides Stafford. We already said Stafford, though.
Yeah, we said Stafford and Josh Allen, and we took those two guys out.
Yeah, definitely those. Let's see. Michael says, mailbag, you have to choose one, Blough or Daboll.
Daboll. Yeah, how crazy is it that all of a sudden, like, I would have never thought a day ago that David Blough and Brian Daboll would be in the same conversation. And, like, this news comes out 2 hours ago, and now all of a sudden we're having this conversation.
Xavier says, mailbag, first childhood memory, where were you? Where you knew you were a sports fan?
I've got a good 2003-ish. Watching the Pistons. I watched the Pistons with my grandpa, just me and him out eating. Jeff, this is the funniest thing ever. I love popcorn. Like my favorite snack. I was banging popcorn with my grandpa. We were watching like the 2003-2004 Pistons. Ate so much popcorn. So I would have been like 6 or 7 years old. Puked it up everywhere. Puke everywhere. But I was like, clean it up, finish watching the Pistons. Watch my guy rip. Tayshaun.
That was my first introduction to that I can remember. Like I have memories watching the Pistons in the early 2000s. I think for football, my first love was watching it was Packers Steelers Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger.
Is that the first Super Bowl you remember?
Yeah, honestly.
My first Super Bowl I remember was, hold on, let me see, what year was it?
Because that was, my family, I mean, the Lions weren't good, so no one really gave a shit. It was Red Wings and Pistons. Those are the two people were watching. I mean, we had stuff all over, but no, Lions were. So I didn't really want to get into football. I played football, but you do it as a kid. You're not like watching the Lions.
Yeah. My first Super Bowl I remember, I think it was this one right here, 2005. I want to go see something real quick and make sure. Yeah, Donovan McNabb. I remember where I watched it. I watched at this place around where I live here. It was like this arcade place. Tom Brady versus Donovan McNabb. I remember that Super Bowl, and I don't know why, but I just have all these memories from that. It was just that's the first one that I truly very aware
Watching
of.
A Michigan man. That's how it started.
Yeah, very, very aware of.
Tomorrow, the doc. Don't forget, it's going to be a great show tomorrow. The doc tomorrow on Wednesday. You're not going to want to miss that. You just don't. You never want to miss Wednesdays. You never want to miss any day, but Wednesdays with the doc, but just specifically during this time. The doc's going to be awesome tomorrow. I mean, he always is. So we'll talk to the DOC tomorrow. So be there 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Hit the subscribe button, like the stream before you go, and check out our content and follow us on social media. It's all in the link in the description. You can check out other social media platforms. We're on everything. But until tomorrow, we will catch you all.
Love you guys.